What's going on, Internet? Tony Tucker here with my friends, the Joe Morley, NFL Mike, all over social media, talking football tomorrow. Less than 24 hours away. We got early morning. We got Sunday morning football, and I think we get it for like the next 3 or 4 weeks. Right? We get these early morning London games. We got our friend across the pond, Rory, in the chat already here. Mike, how do you feel about the early morning games on Sunday?
I honestly don't know the times for all the games, Tony, but I'm assuming that Cincy Baltimore one is early. That one's gonna be a lot of fun. No.
I mean like the 6:30 a.m. game, the London game tomorrow. Like, do you like waking up for? Do you wake up and watch the game?
Oh,
on Sunday?
Oh, I'm here for it. Because I like to have like just that something to watch while I'm getting ready for the other games. Yes. I'm not a big watcher of like talk TV. It honestly kind of just annoys me if I actually listen to it. So I would rather watch a game in the background.
I'm 100% agreement on that, Mike. Like when I wake up, it's like I'm searching for something, but then, so I used to put it on Fantasy Football Talk, but then all that would do is make me tinker with my lineups and it would just make me do bad choices. So I stopped watching Fantasy Football Talk in the morning. And now I just listen to the background of them talking about the games. And I'm like, no, this isn't working for me either. So it's usually like me trying to find something. There's nothing better than watching Aaron Rodgers, and we're going to get into it, get destroyed by Brian Flores. And Mike's boys taking Jets boys taking a huge L there. Joe, you getting up at 6 a.m.?
Hell yeah. It's the only day I'll get up. This is more of a primetime game than the fucking 2 double headers they put on Monday night now, right? You actually get the whole game all by yourself. And it's the rematch. It's the revenge game of Sam motherfucking Donald.
Yeah, we'll get into the revenge narrative there. Like, I don't know. Like, if anything, I feel like the Jets should be getting revenge on him. Like, it wasn't exactly like, neither party treated each other very well in that situation. Before we get into the slate of the weekend, can we give a little love to Kirk Cousins? Like, remember the narrative when we all became friends, when we used to pick games, all of our narrative was never bet primetime Kirk Cousins. And now this guy's out there slinging it for 500 yards and winning a huge game. Look at Mike's getting ready to he's already got his Halloween costume. He already got it there.
You like that?
The fact that the fucking Buccaneers won that game is ridiculous. Like, you got the interception off of Kurt to make him go into primetime Kurt, and you had 2 minutes to run the damn ball and to just end it out, and you gave it back to him. They were like down to a 4% chance of winning that game, and you gave the ball back to him, and of course, you already knew the outcome. You knew Koo was having a bad game, block kicks, 2 missed field goals. You knew that he was due to make one. And then go to overtime and just to watch that, like, it was a great game. This is what Amazon paid for 2 years ago, right? This is about time we have a good game on Thursday night. And I texted you guys, and I don't think you guys understood what I was saying. This is the type of game that the NFL wants. After changing all the defensive rules, this is the kind of game. No pressure on the quarterback. Just sit back there and have time to throw to your wide receiver.
I don't think Michael Penix is going to play this year, huh?
No, he's definitely not. Is the necklace you have hooked around your mouth? Is that what I'm seeing?
It's hooked around my hat, and then I have my grill, my Kirko Chains grill.
Oh, I did it. Yes,
very good.
Let's get a close-up of that. That's beautiful.
Clearly, I'm pretty excited now. Working on a video, so I already had all these props to the side about Kirk Cousins just being an absolute savage. Who goes out there on Matty Ice night? Literally, they called it Matty Ice night. All the Falcons fans brought their Matty Ices to the game and everything just to have Matty Ice's record snapped in front of everybody. I mean, he had to just sit there and watch it. I mean, do you want your records broken when you're a legend like that? Or do you just sit there like, this motherfucker on my night?
like I thought about that too, and I think that at a certain point, like players, you kind of just got to let it go. You just got to be like, hey, there's nothing he can do about it at this point. I'm sure he doesn't love it, like if Eric Dickerson's ever sitting there in week 17 and somebody's about to break his rushing record, I'm sure he's not like, come on, man, you can do it.
Right.
I will say this: they were about to be 0-2 on like honoree or whatever it is, the Ring of Honor inductions, because they lost the Arthur Blank game a few weeks ago, I believe, and then this one would have been an L2. So it would have been time to stop inducting people into your Ring of Honor during primetime games. I watched the game, and at no point did I think they were going to lose until Bucky Irvin fumbled the football. And then I was just like, oh, shit. Like, this is – it seemed like they were just doing whatever the Bucs wanted to do on offense. And there were just so many moments in that game where it was like, hey, Todd Bowles, just go for the game. Just try and win it. Yeah. But I'm sure he doesn't. It's like when you're a defensive coach and your defense is giving up 30 points, well, let's ride the offense because that's the thing that's got us to potentially winning this game. Let's not lean on, let's play conservative, and then my defense is finally going to wake up. Like, that is a bad.
And in our fantasy league, Mike asked for a tight end, Tony. And I sent him a trade. I said, Mike, you can have Kyle Pitts for Kean Coleman. And he said no. And then Kyle Pitts went off.
Oh, yeah. That is I sat Kyle Pitts, so I'm with you, Mike. I also made
I just don't want to lose Keon, man. And it's kind of in a weird spot with that league where, like, I'm refusing to trade my receiver at the bottom of my roster because of how high I was on him in the preseason, and I just have to rip off the Band-Aid, but not for Kyle Pitts. Even after the big game, I still am not regretting the trade.
Yeah, I heard a stat on one of the shows where it was like he, in 52 pass attempts or 58 pass attempts, whatever it was, he still only had like 12% of the target share. So it was like super high efficiency. It's not something like this team does not want to throw the ball. No team wants to throw the ball 58 times a game. So
I feel for Bijan Robinson, man, too. Just like Bucky Irvin, man. Seeing Bucky Irvin's face after that fumble, too, was like the most heartbreaking thing. It's like the I lost the game face. It reminds me of when that Bengals linebacker hit Mahomes out of bounds. It's just like, just the whole pressure of the franchise is coming down on Irving in that one moment. You feel for the guy. And then, of course, you feel for Bijan Robinson, Tony. 58 or 53 pass attempts?
Yeah. It was
Holy
a lot.
Smokes, man.
Was
this
a
guy
lot
is so good. I expect the Falcons rushing attack to be amazing this year, and it's almost absent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where is Bijan? Where's Bijan? Like, we thought, didn't you get rid of your head coach Arthur Smith last year because they weren't using Bijan, and now it's the same shit when Algiers back there again?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily that. I think it was just being 7-9 every year that got him fired, right? And you could say that he'd be better 7-9 if he would have been using Algier and Bijan more. But it was like watching the game. If the passing game is essentially just doing whatever it wants in the game, like Darnell Mooney is out there looking like what we thought he could have been in Chicago. And that's the difference between a good wide receiver, I wouldn't say he's great, but a very good wide receiver, getting to a place with a veteran quarterback and establishing a little bit of rhythm and timing, and all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, Darnell Mooney is a guy that's a 1,200-yard receiver in the NFL. He is a 7 to 8 touchdown playmaker. He is a yak receiver in this league. He can stretch the field.
Yak!
Yeah. Get on that yak. I left this game thinking the Bucs and their fans are going to be like, shit, that this is the game that cost us the division or the playoffs or whatever it is. Because if we were being, like as fans, we like to live in that hypothetical world. Falcons should be 0-5. Like, I mean, this is how they're 3-2 with back-to-back division wins in like 4 days to where they're sitting now. Like, I'm regretting not picking the Falcons to win the division. Like, because you win these games at the beginning of the year, and then your team starts to build continuity. Mm-hmm. So now they're getting this extended time off, and it's they're in a great spot. I think Bucs fans are going to be like, this was the game. We could have been 4-1 because Because you look at the Bucs
Did any of us pick
schedule.
the Falcons? Any of us pick the Falcons to win the
I can't
division?
remember. I know that I was like on the fence between the Falcons and the Bucs. I couldn't decide which one.
I think Mike went with
I took them by tiebreaker or something.
I think there was at least one. I think there was at least one of us.
No, it was me. I picked the Falcons. It was obviously me.
Joe, you had the Saints, right?
No, I had the Falcons.
Oh, Joe had the Falcons at 9-8.
This is how I keep my records right here. This is it right here. Just on a
that's a good file right there
in my phone. All right, let's go to Mike's game of the week. Mike's game of the week: the Jets hanging on for sweet dear life. I honestly believe that, and I'll make mine short on as the Jets side of this. I think that this is the game that forces the DaVante Adams into the arms of the New York Jets. What are your thoughts on Jets Vikings, Mike?
I honestly think the Jets are going to surprise some teams. I think that this element of going to London, it kind of always messes with what to expect out of these games. And I've just noticed over the years that the teams with experience going to London and going overseas have a little bit of advantage. Now, the Vikings, they've done it a few times now also, just like the Jets have over the last couple of years. So in that department, this kind of is evenly matched. But the trip to London always makes it interesting. Like we've seen the Jaguars have some crazy record in London. I think simply because they're used to the trip, they're used to the process that the other team is getting accustomed to. I think that this veteran-filled Jets roster is going to respond to that travel a little bit better than the Vikings. This game is going to be closer than people think. I actually have the Jets winning in an unbiased pick here.
Fuck?
Unbiased.
Everyone's so high on the Vikings, but I'm telling you that Sam Darnold is going to have his inconsistent games still. I don't believe that because Sam Darnold's been great for 4 games, that he's going to be great for 17. And how Sam Darnold would it be for it to be versus the Jets?
Mike, I've watched every snap of the Vikings this year, and there definitely should be a lot more turnovers, and that game is coming. It could be this game for sure.
It could be this game.
And you got the familiarity there. The Jets defense, a lot of the guys in the secondary were around when Sam Darnold was there with them at practice. I wonder how the matchup's going to go between Rodgers and Flores, because Flores has been blitzing like crazy, trying to throw teams off. Even had Brock Purdy like caught in a clip post game, telling him straight up, like, dude, your schemes, your blitzes, they're like impossible to figure out on the fly. That's going to be where this game, I think, is won or lost. And I'm betting on my guy, Aaron Rodgers, still, even after the bad week and mucky weather in Denver.
So Jason McCourty was on an ESPN show that was on after Monday Night Football or something like that. And he was talking about Aaron Rodgers versus the Flores scheme in like 2018 or something or 2016 when they were in New England. And what he was showing was at the beginning, Aaron Rodgers is just trying to figure it out, because part of what Aaron Rodgers does is that like no motion, like stagnant offense, he's going to figure it out. The difference is that he had a lot of veteran wide receivers who were also on the same page as him, which is what eventually started giving Aaron Rodgers the advantage, because he could start figuring it out and know where to go and start hitting some bigger plays down the field. They gave a couple different scenarios of the good and the bad in that. I think it'll be interesting to see if he can be on the same page with Mike Williams and Garrett Wilson and Conklin in this situation. And if he can, he should be able to have some success. I don't think they're going to blitz him as much as they do the other quarterback. Joe,
you have anything to say about this game?
Yeah, it's going to be an ass whooping by the Minnesota Vikings. That's going to get ugly early. This is like, you're going to turn this game on because you're going to be excited. It's going to be 6:30 in the morning, and by 7 o'clock, you're going to be like, why did I wake up for this? Because I could have just watched Aaron Rodgers lose in the highlights later on. Like, come on, they just played the Denver Broncos defense where they couldn't move the ball 10-9. And I told you guys, how did the offense get worse with a MVP quarterback going in there, not using his own weapons? You're not even using Breece Hall like you're supposed to. 10 carries last week for 4 yards. And Garrett Wilson, he's saying it's a vanilla offense. They don't want to play. He doesn't want to play there. And it's crazy that now we're just because the Jets were preseason favorites for some people, that they're still riding the Jets nuts. And it's not there. The Jets aren't a good team. We can just admit it now.
Mike, you want to respond to that? Mike does not want to respond. He's gonna he's just gonna let the Jets do the talking for him. I would say this: the Vikings, I believe, are somewhere near the top of the sack leaderboard. But if you think about it, every time we watch these London games, the pass rushers are always complaining about the field, the grass, like how they can't get good traction. And I think that is one of the things that could help Aaron Rodgers have a little bit more time, help his offensive lineman have a little bit more time, is if guys like Grenard and Jones, who's emerging, if these guys can't get to the quarterback, that's going to give Aaron Rodgers a little extra time. I think that this game is close, is closer than Joe does, but I'm still going to take the Vikings in this one. Like it feels weird to have this much confidence in Sam Darnold. Like it really feels like this will be an L that I will be like, wait, why?
Yeah, I'm not even taking the Sam Darnold. I'm more on the Minnesota Vikings defense going up against Aaron Rodgers, having that great day against Aaron Rodgers. I'm more of the defense of the Vikings this game.
Yeah,
make sure you guys get these shirts, man. You guys want to get high in the clouds with me and the Jets? Get saucy with the Saucy Pilot. It's in the corner right now.
And I actually think this is like, I think the Vikings are like the number 4 defense, and the Jets are still like number 5, right? In like points scored or something like that. So they don't both teams don't really give up a lot of points, but one of them's going to have to break here.
Yeah, who's number 1? The Chargers. I don't actually know if that's a fact or not. I'm just wanted to shout out my boys because they got a bye week. Let's go to what I think is the most interesting game and could have some playoff seeding ramifications. Bills Texans. Watched all the Texans games this year too. There's something that's off with the offense, and I wish that this is like one of those teams that I would love to just have a conversation with like a really smart defensive coordinator just to see what they're doing different to this offense. Because it looks like they're still getting yards, but for whatever reason, the conversions aren't there. There's still a lot of like explosive plays, like Nico Collins is balling out. On the Bills side, like last week, we just saw a situation where it was like overmatched by a really good team. And then you start thinking about how they got to 3-0, and there's some concerns there. We'll start with Joe on this one. What are your thoughts? Who you got? Anything you want to say on this game?
Yeah, Von Miller, one of the worst contracts to ever be in the NFL, right? He's out for 4 weeks. I don't know if you guys saw that. He got suspended. That might go down as one of the worst contracts we've ever seen, besides the Javon Walker to the Raiders. Just throwing it out there. But I don't know. I think that like how the Texans are 3-1, it's crazy to me that they keep winning these games. But I think this is the game that we see the Texans become the Texans that everybody's been waiting for. But all three of us kind of touched on it, I think, in the preseason, that we said the Texans were going to struggle more this year than they did last year. And sometimes that happens. When you add a lot of weapons to your offense, it takes a while to get some consistency. And sometimes you don't know who to get the ball to, and it messes up your play call. But I'm going with the Houston Texans in this game over the Buffalo Bills. I think the Bills, some of the injuries, and is going to catch up to them this week.
Mike?
Yeah, I think a lot of the Texans' issues is just similar to the rest of the league, dealing with blanket coverage. No one wants to give up big plays versus all these freaking wide receivers, and just getting, like Joe's saying, going here early on in the season. It's been a league-wide thing, not just the Texans. And I think even the Bills have dealt with it a little bit too at times. And like you're saying, Tony, it's like all of the worries that we had about the Bills, and I still kind of carried through that 3-1 win streak, kind of reared their ugly head all at once against Baltimore. You started to see some of the injuries pile up. You started to see the depth of this team have to go against another AFC contender. And what happened? So we'll see how it goes for the Bills going forward. I think they're going to lose this game also, just like Joe is thinking. I think the Texans are a more complete team. I trust the depth of their team a little bit more. The defense is playing better, and those offensive issues can be fixed as quickly as the Baltimore Ravens fixed their offensive issues against Buffalo.
Yeah, I was pretty much on the Bills till about last night at midnight when I was making my final selections for today. I ended up going with the the Texans being at home, I do think they're missing Joe Mixon. Like, it was a little bit more successful. Like, Cam Akers hasn't filled in quite nicely in that spot. And I think getting back Tank Dell as a real opportunity for him to have his breakout game of the season in tomorrow's matchup. So it's going to be interesting no matter what. I think the other thing is, does Josh Allen like play some hero ball tomorrow? Because that game last week was getting pretty close. And then there was that weird trick play that was just one of the worst things I've ever seen. And Josh Allen gets like slammed to the ground. So if he goes to hero ball mode, we could have a real interesting game there. This game right here, is this the game where it's like, all right, Bengals, you can't climb out of a 1-4 hole? Like, when you guys look at this game, even though it's not like a must win, do you look at this, Mike, as like a must win for the Bengals?
I think it's must win for the Bengals, 100%. I think that they're already in a situation and in a hole that's almost impossible to climb out of in their division and with this schedule. So if they lose again, like, I'm ready to bury the hatchet, and they should be considering burying the season and punting, looking towards next season. I don't know if they want to trade T. Higgins mid-season after a loss here. Maybe they want to wait until they can fully negotiate that out in the offseason, but he's about to walk. So looking to see people start going on the trade block if they lose this game, Tony.
Yeah. I'm just laughing because this is every week Tony counts the Bengals out. Every week he's like, this is it for the Bengals. Right. This is it. Like, it's just,
I mean, they are 1-3, so you're doing good so far, Tony.
Yeah, he's like, this game right here could be for the Bengals. But I think we've seen, and Tony, you talked about it every week. You talk about how preseason means a lot to these teams. And the Bengals, notorious, have started out slow the last couple of years, and they start to pick it up. Their offense has been clicking. Even though they lost that Washington game, their offense started clicking in that game. Last week against Carolina, they looked better. Now they're going up against a division rival who they kind of know. They're getting defensive players back this week from being injured. Should help them out. And really, all you got to do, like, it's hard to say it, but all you got to do against Baltimore is worry about Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, the running game. Nobody's really scared of the wide receivers in Baltimore. So you load the box, you go up and you stop the run. You should be able to beat Baltimore and put up some points. And I think Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are on a good. Since T. Higgins has come back, it's opened up that offense, and you're seeing the running backs getting going. They got almost a 2-man horse now. So I'm taking the Bengals in this game to win this one.
Seems like you're trying to sell something there about those receivers, Joe. I feel like Zay Flowers, and I know Isaiah Likely's not a receiver, but he's playing basically receiver here. If we are
I'm not saying that the receivers are horrible, but I'm saying, like,
their passing game is good.
Do you feel that you need to double team Zay Flowers every play?
No, not every play.
And that's their top guy. Like, I'm saying you could leave. If you feel good about your cornerbacks, you can leave them one-on-one out there and hope that, if Zay Flowers beats you, you want to make the Ravens have somebody else beat you besides Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson.
After seeing what I've seen out of Cincy's secondary this year, I would not trust my DBs in any one-on-one matchups against any of the Ravens guys.
Yeah, I think you have to. I think that kind of has to be the game plan. You have to sort of live and die by that. You have to say, like, hey, we're putting 7-8 people up near the line of scrimmage to deal with this. And we are going to see some Devin Duvernay and Flowers getting some one-on-ones, and Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely has been quiet since the week one where he stepped out and had a huge game there. Like, I thought it was interesting what Mike said about the T. Higgins situation, because I do think that there's like there's strategy built in. You're probably going to get a compensatory pick when he goes, but then you have to like sort of navigate your offseason around making sure that you don't offset the structure so that you get that 3rd-round comp pick when he signs for a max deal somewhere else. You could control it this year where it's like, hey, who does need a wide receiver? And there are plenty of teams that could use T. Higgins right now where it's like, hey, are you willing to give us a 3rd that we're going to be able to use in 2025 instead of playing the comp formula and that pick doesn't come in until 2026? So I think that like losing this game starts forcing them into questions like this, because it would also allow for the development of guys like Jermaine Burton and Andre Oshivas to accept bigger roles, build chemistry moving forward. I have questions about like what point does the coach get on the hot seat type of a situation. I do think Zach Taylor's been good there. I'm taking the Ravens in this game. I don't feel great about it. This feels like a Bengals miraculous performance defensively, offensively. Ravens are flying high after that beatdown. I'm taking the Ravens, but I don't feel great about it. Mike, who'd you take in this?
I'm taking Baltimore also. I think Baltimore is going to smoke the Bengals. I think that it's going to be ugly, and we're going to be leaving Tuesday with Cincinnati's season possibly in question. 24-10 Ravens, 28-14 Ravens style game. I don't believe in Cincy's defense this year. They have been up and down. They've shown bright spots at times, but as a whole, no faith in the secondary. The pass rush hasn't been as dominant with some of the rotational guys that they've brought in here as guys have left. And then offensively, they're having the struggles as well. Like when the Bengals put up 40 points a game, yeah, maybe I'm in, but they aren't quite that Cincinnati Bengals. I think they need to do something like what the Bills did. The Bills kind of hit the reset button. They went young this year, and it's worked out in a way. We just talked about how we think the Bills are probably going to lose and fall to 3-2. But I think even at 3-2, with how young their team is, you got to be excited as a Bills fan. So that's what the Bengals need to do. They need to go that direction for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to salary-wise.
I mean, they've already started, right? They've already started with some players. We've already started to see it.
Well, once they paid Chase this offseason, like they're going to have to start making some decisions to go that way. I mean, they moved on from Mixon. Defensively, we might, Trey Hendrickson's probably gone next year. Who knows what's going on with Sam Hubbard? Now you need guys like Miles Murphy that you've invested in to like step up and be a guy. I mean, I think they used a first-round pick on him at the end of that 2022 or 2023 draft. I can't remember. But he needs to.
I saw a guy on Thursday night that the Bengals could have used.
What am I blanking on? Oh, yeah. Jesse Bates. Holy shit. That was – you franchise tag the guy, and then it's like, what are you doing? This is the reason that we draft players is so that you can get a player that's a game changer, and then you don't invest in that. It's like, okay, good call. Good, well-run organization. Speaking of well-run organizations, the Kansas City Chiefs, they just continue to win. I did at the end of the show. I got excited when I saw the Herbert news, bought tickets, took my son, sat there the whole game thinking that the Chargers were going to win the game. And then sure enough, fourth quarter drive, touchdown, 17-10 Chiefs. I just sat there after the game as people just poured out of the building. I'm like, I'm so tired of this shit. Saints, I'm not going to lie. I need to stop making picks at like midnight, 1 a.m. the night before we do the show. Cause I was like, I had the Saints locked in on my phone and I started to go to bed and I was like, no, I cannot do this. I really want to pick the Saints in this spot. I think the Chiefs, it's like vulnerable. It's almost like they want to lose a game just to sort of like have a little adversity. Like they can't just keep winning. Like they need something. They need coaching points because you keep winning these games. This isn't sustainable, especially once you get to playing the really good teams the way that they're winning. But Dennis Allen on the road against Andy Reid, I just can't. I don't even care that Watson might be or Juju might be the number one wide receiver in this game. I'm still picking the Chiefs, even though I don't want to, and I think the Saints could upset. Mike, where are you at on this one?
Yeah, it doesn't even really like make sense that the Chiefs are still winning. It's pretty annoying actually when you're to your backup at running back, to your third at receiver. Travis Kelce struggling to get going. Even that game against the Chargers, like everyone's saying, "Oh, Kelce's back." Yeah, I saw some of the stuff that he can do. I didn't see like prime Kelce out there. That wasn't a return to glory by any means in my mind from what I saw. So it's just like they shouldn't be winning all these games. You're right, Tony. But at the same time, the Saints are on a 2-game losing streak. The Saints aren't playing great football them damn selves. And on top of it all, this is on Monday Night Football in front of the whole world. You think Rodgers letting Queen Mahomes lose to Derek Carr in front of everybody? Hell no. It ain't going to happen. I'm going with the Chiefs.
Conspiracy alert. Joe, are you riding with your guy Derek Carr to beat the Chiefs here?
We got the number one offense on Monday night this week. You guys got to be happy about that, right? Like you get to go out there and watch it's not the Kansas City.
It's a little skewed. The number one offense thing, but
yeah, it's weird. I think it's weird. Like everybody was high on the Chiefs or on the Saints early in the season, and then I was like, hey, just wait. It's gonna calm down. Like it's gonna put them down. And they played the Panthers. They played the Cowboys. Looked amazing. The last 2 weeks they fell back down to normal. It's hard to pick anybody against the Kansas City Chiefs, especially in the fourth quarter when the Kansas City have that one guy. It's like watching WWE. You're just waiting for somebody to come running in with the chair, right? And it's the referee. And it was funny because I went to LA last night. Jake and I were going through all the vintage jersey section of the place, and we were like, oh, JJ Watt, blah blah blah. And at the end of it, they had a bunch of referee jerseys, and Jake's only 11, and he goes, oh, they got a bunch of Kansas City jerseys here, right? Everybody knows that the Kansas City Chiefs are helped by the referees, and it's becoming too damn predictable, and I think it's ruining some of the Kansas City games, and we're just going to see it again on Monday night. So why would I pick anybody other than Kansas City right now? Why the referees are hot?
Yeah, there was no questionable anything going on in that Chargers game last week. Not anything. I didn't see anything when I watched the replay back. Not a single missed holding or not a single missed anything.
So I talked about this on Mike's show where it was like there were a couple fans in the stands around me that were saying like, we always get the calls. We always like doing that sort of Jordan thing. Like, that's just what we do. And I'm like, oh, it's annoying how they kind of expect it. And not all of them. Like overwhelmingly, the Chiefs fans were like super cool fans. I've been to Seahawks, Ravens, Lions, Raiders. Like I thought the Chiefs fans were good fans, good visiting fans. So overall, it was just annoying how arrogant they were. Just calm down. We're going to win it. Oh yeah, we get the calls. That was rough. Come on, Derek Carr. I would love to be wrong about picking the Chiefs in this spot.
Just please. This message needs everyone find a way to clip this and get this to the Saints tackles. Line up on the damn line of scrimmage, guys. Please line up on the line of scrimmage.
Do not let this man continue to be the Reaper. Like, let's just put the Reaper, put him down for a game. Like,
even though we all picked the Chiefs. Even though we all picked
Big L. Yeah, we did.
Right. So we all see the T-shirt at the bottom. We all see the Reaper T-shirt. We need to make another Reaper T-shirt right here with this guy's face.
This is just absolutely fantastic.
That's a real picture.
That's
not AI.
Oh, I love that. That is great. All right. We got another season hanging in the balance in Pittsburgh, Dallas on the road, without DeMarcus Lawrence, without Micah Parsons. I will say that I saw the Steelers defensive line, who I think is the best in the league, has some trouble. Highsmith out. Herbig, who is a really nice pass rusher off the edge, kind of undersized, but good player out of Wisconsin. He could be out. I don't care.
Is 90 in?
What?
Is 90 in? Then we're good. If 90's in, we're good.
That's what I said. That's what I was just about to say. I don't care at all about any of the injury reports that I said. If TJ Watt is there, Sunday Night Football, I just think that we get like a fantastic show of him abusing whichever tackle he's in front of. It doesn't matter. You want him to go right? You want him to go left? They'll figure it out. He'll be there without the threat of a run game too. Like that's the part where it's like, okay, this guy doesn't have to respect the run at a super high level. I'm going 4 sacks for TJ in this game and a Steelers victory. Joe, which way are you landing on this one?
I think I texted you guys like 2 days ago, and I said this is going to be Justin Fields' day right here. Justin Fields is going to have a great day. Nobody on that defensive line for the Dallas Cowboys, who are already struggling on defense as it is. And like you said, there's no threat on that offense. It's Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, and that's their offense, and that's what they banked on this whole season. And when you got a defense like the Pittsburgh Steelers that are just going to come at you, there's no stopping it. If Justin Fields wants to make that statement game and he wants to show that, hey, I'm not the same quarterback that I was in Chicago. It wasn't me. It wasn't just me holding down that offense in Chicago. This is the game that we look at Justin Fields and go, holy shit, he tore the Cowboys up and he dominated this game. If you have Justin Fields in fantasy football, this is the game that I'm playing him, and he's probably going to win your matchup single-handedly.
He should have freaking had a crazy comeback to really juice up the fan bases and that narrative against the Colts. They had them on the ropes, man, and fumbled by George Pickens on the goal line. Justin Fields made a few mistakes when they're on the other side of the 50 also. Cost them that game. The Steelers should be 4-0, and even with some of those injuries, I felt like the team looked really good against the Colts with just those few mistakes that were just boneheaded, like fumbling on the 10 and penalties to get them just out of field goal range and interception in the end zone. So I think that they eliminate some of those mistakes, really get to lock in again here, and they put the hurt on the Cowboys because it's not just the Cowboys D-line, and they're beat up, and I think Fields is going to abuse those edge rushers as well. The Cowboys secondary is falling apart, man. There's no continuity in the secondary. They're getting beat off the line of scrimmage. They're getting beat down the field. They're getting beat over the middle of the field. The secondary hasn't been good either. I think the Cowboys offense just banked on that O-line just staying good and opening the holes for Zeke, because Zeke looked like he still had some juice in the first game last year with the Patriots, but the O-line, they're getting bullied. They're getting pushed around, and this isn't good. This isn't good for the Cowboys. I think this is going to fall off the wagon, like we were saying in the preseason, even quicker than I thought. Like this whole thing with Micah Parsons bringing on Eagles players to his podcast, it's still like, it's irking me a little bit. Like that seems like a little bit of a shot. Like Micah's almost throwing a shot at Jerry Jones, at his head coach, at his general manager. Like I'm cool with talking with the enemy this offseason.
So I saw that Darius Slay kind of said, hey, Eagles fans, I hate him. I'm with you. I want to beat him. Guys, I have a life. My whole thing is like, I tend to err on the side of like, I'm an old man because I am getting to be an old man. But like also, these guys have lives outside of whatever it is. And I do think that like, if they want to sit down and chop it up about football, like, do I love it? No, but I'm not going to be like shouting on the internet about how terrible it is and you need to want to like tear this person apart. They're never even on the field at the same time.
Yeah, but Micah did it intentionally. This isn't just like a random interview in the middle of the offseason. He did it to get at CJ Gardner-Johnson, who he was beefing with on Twitter. So he's like, oh, I'm going to hit up your friend and get him on my show and get back at you. That's clearly what's happening.
I agree. There is a little bit of pettiness. There's a little bit of like, hey, we're taking reality TV to a new level. Like, yeah. You know, we always say that like the NFL is our favorite form of reality television. And now it's becoming sort of like off-field drama and stuff too. But none of it even really matters in like the grand scheme of like how this game goes. I just think the Cowboys are too banged up in a spot to be on the road in a place like Pittsburgh, where Justin Fields has a real shot to get involved in the RPO game this week, and he can have a big rushing day. I think Najee Harris can also have a big game there. So I feel really good about the Steelers. Last week, we talked about picking against the spread. I put out my 5 favorites for last week. I got lucky. I went 5-0. I want to keep this train going where I'm on record of doing this because I'm keeping track of it. I do have this. I forgot to mention I had the Saints plus 5.5. My second bet of the week that I love is the Steelers at home 2.5. They only got to win this game by a field goal, and I really like the Steelers at home only giving up 2.5 points in the game here. Anything else?
last week they showed a highlight. I don't know if you guys were watching it, or it was a Thursday night game when the Cowboys played on Thursday night, and they were like, "Look at Guyton, the offensive tackle for the Dallas Cowboys." They're like showing his highlights of the night. They're like, "Look how good he's doing." Every highlight they showed should have been a holding penalty. That's how bad he was getting beat. But they were like, "Look at him, he's doing so great," and I'm like, "That's holding. That's holding." And then it never got called, but that's how bad. I just wanted to mention how bad.
So real quick, I think Mike and I had this conversation a week ago, and I think that there's like, if they call it fairly, what the tackle is taught when you're beat to keep the hand on the breastplate of the guy as he's going by you, so he's not just a free runner. But the thing is that sometimes the officials will call that play a holding, and it's sort of like when they want to call it a holding. It's like if the defender is a big enough name that they're going to be lit up for it on social media, then it's a holding. If it's an edge rusher that nobody really knows the name of, they don't call a holding. Now, I don't know that. I haven't gone through and watched all of them, but it just feels like that. It feels like if they keep that hand there and it looks like they're holding or choking him out, but it's not like they're not really holding him. It's not like they're not grabbing his jersey. The hand's just there on the front of the chest.
It's unfortunate, and I don't want to say this or do this, but this is just the point that I've gotten to, because we're never ever going to get away from human error. But I just want the fucking computers to call the game and make sure we get the calls right.
Absolutely not. I
want the
so
to call the game.
I
don't want the ref to make the judgment call on whether it's holding based off if it's TJ Watt or some unknown guy. I don't want that in the game. I think that there's no point in having that in the game. Like, every single play is replayed a million times, and when they fuck up a call, we can all see that they fucked up a call, so we all can fix these calls very quickly and very easily. They just have someone watching it, and they just do it.
I agree, but the human element is part of the game, and it's a fun part of the game. Like, if it's just official by robots, then I don't know if I'd like that.
The rules should be black and white. If you're not holding the guy, then it shouldn't be a holding penalty. And if the replay shows that, they should be able to take it off the fucking field.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a larger discussion.
That's where we're going. So that's the direction we're going. So I don't know why we're so reluctant to getting it right, and just getting the call right instead of
you're
keep
saying
having these games end in controversy.
Stop delaying the inevitable is what you're essentially saying. Yeah. Okay.
Look who's in the house just in time, Tony.
Harrison, what's up, brother? I was very close to picking the Panthers here on the road. I couldn't, though. I again watched all the Bears games. I feel like we couldn't stop talking, and I was part of that noise too, about how good the Bears offense could be, and it's been anything but. Last week we saw progress in the way of, like, Caleb Williams was more willing to take checkdowns, take smarter, shorter throws, and we saw the offense start to get a little bit of rhythm. But if you go back and you just watch all of Caleb's throws this year, there's something off on the deep ball, especially with DJ Moore. The timing, he's just missing a lot of shots. He missed a couple of touchdowns down the field last week, where it's once they get that rhythm, I think then we could start to see the offense that we all predicted this to be at the beginning. Keenan getting healthy too and being in that spot. I do like the Bears defense enough in this spot to squeak out a close victory at home over the Panthers. But I would like to thank the Panthers organization for putting Andy Dalton in the game, because it makes the Panthers a much more enjoyable watch. I've watched the past couple of weeks. Obviously, I watched them beat down the Raiders because that's fun. And then last week's game against Cincinnati, again, a more fun game to watch back because you're getting to see an offense that's moving the ball. And Deontay Johnson is getting it on the offense. And Xavier Legette is actually, you can evaluate where he's at. Hopefully Jonathan Mingo gets things figured out there too. So I will watch this game back for many reasons, but I'm excited to see the Bears have a chance to get to 3-2, even though in the hypothetical world as fans, we could say Will Levis doesn't, do that. And maybe last week the Stafford doesn't throw that interception. The Bears can be 0-4 type situation. We play that game, the hypothetical game. I'm excited for them to have a chance to get to 3-2. Mike, Bears, Panthers.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that the offense, I've been saying it on the show every time I've been on in the last couple of weeks. The offense is just right there, and the receivers are getting separation, and things are working out, but the timing just isn't clicking for Caleb the way it is for Jaden Daniels in Washington. He's also doesn't have any time. He's getting people in his face 1.5 seconds from snapping the ball almost every single snap and having to make something happen. So I think against this Panthers D-line that's been struggling to get pressure on the quarterback, I think against this Panthers secondary that's been struggling in coverage down the field, giving up a lot of big plays this year, almost every single week in some sort of way or fashion, I think the Bears offense can finally get it going in this one. I think that Caleb is going to feel the most comfortable he has so far this season in the pocket here against Carolina. And I think the Bears come away with a comfortable victory. I like the Bears, what the Bears defense has done this year. That's definitely been the bright spot. They've got to get this offense going if they have any wild card aspirations, which I don't think they have, honestly. We'll see how the season unfolds and if Caleb takes those kind of jumps. But I think for this game specifically, real opportunity against a soft pass rush to let your rookie quarterback have a real confidence-building game.
Yeah. Joe?
Let me just say this. If you're an NFL team and you have a player that's not performing well and you need him to start performing well, give me a call. Let me talk shit about him on the show, and then they'll break out. Because this is exactly what happened last week with the Bears, right? I was sitting here going, I don't know why the fuck the Bears signed DeAndre Swift. He sucks. He's not even the best running back on that roster. And then he has a great game for him. So if you are an NFL team, probably Swift was probably watching us last week and said, you know what, fuck Joe Morley. I'm going to go off. And that's probably what happened. He was probably watching us, saw the show, and got pissed off and went out and had a good game. So if you're an NFL team, you need somebody to spark it, or you just need me to talk shit about your team at a whole, I can do it for you, and then your team will dominate the game and win the game. But I hope Harrison's listening because this is the one time I'll probably do it. But I'm taking the Carolina Panthers to win this game. It's just a different team with Andy Dalton out there. I have no faith in the Chicago Bears offense right now, in Caleb Williams, anything that's going on. So I think the Carolina Panthers get this win.
I would pay $500 to see a video of Matt Eberflus being like, look at this Southern California Dumbo talking shit about you. Like he's using Joe Morley to rile them up. That would be great to see that video come out of a team meeting, that you would have that much influence. We do as fans have a tendency to do that, where we're just like, oh yeah, this is done. Like cooked is a word that people love to use or whatever it is. And then the player comes out and does what the player's capable of doing, because it's why they were drafted high. It's why they were given money. It's because they are great and they just needed time to figure it out. I think this is a chance for Swift to go back-to-back in that scenario. I would like to see the continued growth of Xavier Legette. I just think that when you're that big and fast, it adds an element to any game you're watching where you get to see somebody doing something that's like super special. And you're like, hey, keep getting that guy the ball because that's fun for us to watch.
Yeah, and he's a guy of their future, right? Like Harrison here's a Panthers fan saying they're going to lose. Lots of confidence. Travis Hunter season, you want him, if they get a high pick to draft a receiver again, I would probably be thinking quarterback, unless they really do want to throw Bryce back out there next year with Travis Hunter. But I was going to say, are the Panthers a team that's thinking about trading players, and who's down to take a flyer and a risk on saving J.C. Horn's career in a better scheme, a better defense with better coaching?
I was going to say, what if you see Deontay Johnson go to a team in red?
I would not be happy about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be stoked about that either.
I think I said this to you guys in a text message, or maybe during one of the meetings I had with Mike this week, but I will hate any team that trades a wide receiver to the Kansas City Chiefs this year. If the league is not conspiring to say, hey, nobody's trading any wide receivers to the Chiefs for anything lower than like a first-round draft pick, you are not trying to keep them from winning 3 Super Bowls in a row. Do not help them. Make them sign
Buffalo Bills
sitting there
the Bills are sitting there in their front office trying to find a way to help the Chiefs out right now.
Yeah, they're
going to trade them Keon Coleman.
No,
like,
I don't think they're trading
what can we do right now to help the Kansas City Chiefs?
They're like, hey, we got a package for you. we'll take a 7th round pick for Mac Hollins and Curtis Samuel. We just want to throw you guys a bone. That that general manager Bean is real close. So I'm going to call a quick timeout on this one. The Panthers top pick. If I'm Dave Canales, I'm pitching the idea of like, let's survey the veteran quarterback market. You know, he's had success with these guys in the past, and let's go ahead and let's bolster our offensive line. Like if we're up at the top again, if there's a player in this draft that you're looking is like a Latham Fuaga alt type player, let's get that guy in our building. You know, let's move in that direction. Let's start building up the team around it so that when we do draft the next quarterback, because essentially if you draft any of these guys from this thing, you're just going to be right back in the same situation.
You just
like start building the team, get a veteran, let Bryce continue to be the backup. Bryce is on the sidelines. Like he's in it. He's not sulking. He's a good team player. Let him continue to develop him behind the scenes. Don't waste that top pick. I would be all for them drafting in the trenches, not Travis Hunter. I know it's fun. You can't afford it.
And Andy Dalton are fucking up the three-peat right now, Tony. They're screwing up.
We're gonna get to the team that I think is destined for the three-peat in a second here. Arizona Cardinals. We're moving on to the next game. Cardinals. Come on, who are the Cardinals? Because in some games they look really good. They look like they're gonna compete. They're gonna be there. And then I'm watching the game last week, and it's like they're just getting crushed by the Commanders, making the Commanders look like one of the best teams in the NFC in that game last week. 49ers, they just continue to roll. I mean, they did get the Patriots last week, which is like we talked about on the show. Like, remember when I was like 9.5? I don't know. Like, and I took the Patriots getting 9.5 points. It wasn't enough to keep for me to cover in that game. I think that the Niners are getting back. They're getting healthy. Kittle and Debo are out there. Jennings emerge. I think that this might be an attempt to get Brandon Ayuk a week where they're like, hey, let's get you going this week and have you going and playing really well at the beginning. Get you re-engaged into the team because we can't afford that. I like San Francisco in this game by like a touchdown. I'm sorry, Cardinals. I was rooting for you. I still root for you, but I just get frustrated watching the games back.
Well, I told you last week before that game, Tony, I said, how much does Cliff Kingsbury know Kyler Murray? Like, he said it before the game, like, my whole coaching career was put on Murray. I root for him every year. Like, he knows the tendencies in and out. They were together forever. He knows the weaknesses. So I expected that game to go the way that it did with Washington winning. Like, I mean, when you're best friends with somebody or good buddies with somebody, you know everything about it and what they're going to go to. And you don't think that translated over? Like, that helped out a lot. Now, it is weird because Arizona has been one of those teams that like you said, they look good and then they look like crap. They beat an injured Rams team, but it was still like surprising. And then they hung with the Detroit Lions. And now this week, the San Francisco 49ers are not the same San Francisco 49ers that we've been seeing. They're banged up team too. Getting people healthy back this week. And I really, really hate the 49ers, right? And you guys already know that. So fuck it. I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals this week.
I love that. Mike, thoughts on this?
I want the Cardinals to win too, but I'm not going with the Arizona Cardinals. No, I'm going with the 49ers. I think that they're healthy enough to where we're going to see a little bit of a return of the 49ers that we're used to seeing and that we saw in week 1. I think that they're going to run all over the Cardinals defense. Like, if all else comes to worst, if the passing game isn't working, they can't get it going to Debo, they can't get it going to Brandon Ayuk. I'm not sure what Kittle's status is for this game. They're just going to run the ball. This Cardinals, the middle of the Cardinals defense specifically, has been very weak this year. And, you know, that's aside from Kyler Murray's inconsistencies at quarterback a little bit. So I'm going to rock with the Niners here. I feel pretty confident that San Fran has also had Arizona's number. I want the Cardinals to be better than they are, but like we were saying, like, their schedule, they were set up for failure from the jump here with this season, and they're just not quite there yet. All the young guys on their team need to get just 1 year better, and I think they need another offseason to really build the roster up and compete in the NFC West.
Yeah, I saw Trey McBride move to questionable. That's not good. He definitely hurts the ability to move the ball in offense. I think, again, every year we underrate how effective James Conner is as a running back. He still looked good last week in the game. I continue to say that, like, I don't understand why the Cowboys aren't saying, like, hey, here, we need James Conner. Like, the Cowboys would be a way different, better team if they could figure out a way to bring him into the building. The other stat I wanted to mention on this game I heard this week was that Jordan Mason is on pace for like 390 touches or something, like the most since DeMarco Murray. Maybe a TikTok idea, some sort of video idea for NFL Mike. I think it's interesting to see what happens to those players after they go to like that astronomical number of touches in a season. Especially too, because he could be looking to maybe get like a second payday. Like, you don't think he's sitting around looking like, man, 400 touches. Like, I'm fucking tired, coach. Tap me out. Like, let me get a sub here. We drafted Isaac Guerrero. Like, this guy can't touch the ball a few times each game. San Francisco, they're slowly going to creep back into just winning the division. Rinse, wash, repeat. 49ers back in, NFC playoffs, looking like Super Bowl contender type team.
Hey, and the Cardinals have to start stacking wins right now because Week 8's coming up, and you know what comes out in Week 8? Call of Duty.
Stop it. Stop with Call of Duty stuff.
That's when they get Travis Hunter. We got Travis Hunter and Marvin Harrison screaming down the field next year together.
I do think that, like, them adding, they've done a good job in their drafts, and they are, like you said, Mike, another year away, letting all these young guys have a little bit more NFL experience. And then all of a sudden it's like this Cardinals team is interesting. Next year,
I think they are, but I just hope they commit to building around Kyler one more time. I think that he can do it once they get this team loaded up again, like they were a couple years ago when they went on that undefeated streak. Remember? Yeah,
that was something I was going to talk about in the commander section, but I just blanked on what I was going to say. Oh, I hope that they don't give up on Gannon, because you can't just continue to be resetting organizationally. Like, just leave them in there and like, let's go another year with this situation. As long as the team is still together and playing hard, that's what you can ask for. The Rams, I think last year they were like 1-4, 1-5, and we wrote them off, and then they ended up getting it hot when players got healthy. I do think finding a way to steal this game would drastically change their momentum here. Unfortunately, the Packers travel well. I think this is going to be a tough, loud kind of mini home game for the Green Bay Packers, especially if Bakersfield represents for their guy, Jordan Love, in this spot. And they bring a couple thousand people from Bakersfield who just seem to have this allegiance for Jordan Love. The Packer side of this, like, Jaden Reed this dude's a baller. Like, every time we watch, you start seeing it more and more. It's like, who's the number one? It's Jaden Reed should be your number one option. He's a fantastic football player. He's involved in the run game, short pass, like down the field. Like, he's just a great player there. I am taking the Packers in this one, and it has a little bit more to do with the fact that just the Rams are so beat up. If they can get back either Kupp or Nakua, like, it doesn't even have to be both. Like, just get back one. I think that would really help. Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, and J Love and this Green Bay offense, they really need to cook in this game, man. It's not even been too bad. Like, Jordan Love playing through injury has been good, but he's 0-2. So you want to get that monkey off your back. The backup quarterback's undefeated, and you haven't put a win on your team's record yet this year. I think he does it in this game too, Tony. I think the Rams are just too beat up. I wouldn't trust their secondary and what I've seen out of them this year against this Green Bay kind of like jack of all trades weapon core that they got built up there, fully healthy, let alone with some of the injuries that they have to guys on the D-line, in the secondary, even on the offensive line, the receivers. So I'm going with Green Bay as well, and we keep talking about trades. This is the time. I think that this is going to be the most exciting trade deadline that we've seen in years, maybe ever. I'm excited to see what the Rams do at the trade deadline. Are they willing to move on from Cooper Kupp with the Puka Nakua coming on? Are they willing to move on from Matthew Stafford? I think the Dolphins should already be asking the Rams about Matthew Stafford. But that's just me. That's just you got Tyreek Hill, you got Jalen Waddle. unless you just want to sink to the bottom of the Miami Beach with those two guys, you might want to make a move at quarterback here at the deadline.
Yeah, and there's a wide receiver in this that's not playing in this game that wants to be traded too. He's not happy, and that's Romeo Dobbs, right? Get me out of here.
He wants to get traded? I didn't know that.
Oh, he is sitting out of this game and he is being put on some kind of list of not wanting to play because he's frustrated with the franchise with Green Bay, so he wants out.
Maybe he's the DaVante trade. That would make sense.
So there you go. There's another wide receiver. I was going to tell you guys earlier when we were talking about it, but I said I'll just wait till we get to the Green Bay game. It's tough because it's Sean McVay versus McFleur, or good friends LaFleur, and I'm like, it's weird because Sean McVay sometimes has that. We've seen it where we talk about his memory and how great he is. So he to know like tendencies of your best friend, like, and I already talked about it. When you know tendencies of somebody, sometimes it's easier just to pick them off. And I think this game's going to be closer than what we think or what we're talking about. And everybody is on the Vikes train right now. Like Tony talked about Reed. Like if you play fantasy football, you talk about fantasy football. Vikes has been the hottest guy this week. Everybody wants Vikes. And what happens when you go for the hot guy? He ends up laying the egg, right? And then you're like, what happened? Just like me with on Thursday night, just to bring that back up. I'm still sad from it with Bucky Irving. But I do think the Green Bay Packers somehow pull this game off. But I don't think it's going to be as bad as people think with the Rams. I think the Rams are going to hang in there till the end.
Well, I hope you're wrong about Vikes. I'm starting him in 2 different leagues. He's a player that I've believed in, I've invested in a couple of fantasy leagues, and I do think he's a really good player. I brought up Jaden Reed just because every week when you watch the game, you're like, holy shit, like this guy he just makes great plays for this offense every single week.
So here's the Romeo Dobbs things, Tony, before I don't want people to be like, oh, what happened? So Dobbs randomly skipped practice this week. He missed 2 practices this week, and the Packers have suspended him for the game, and he deleted all the Packers stuff off his Instagram like everybody else does. There you go. Yeah. So basically, he got suspended for this week's game for missing practices.
It's not a good look. It's one of those situations where you're in a rough spot. You've had some success in this league. He was a great red zone target for them last year. You want to find a way to, work yourself out of this situation in a professional fashion. Ultimately, I don't think it'll care. Like, I think if there's a team that's like, hey, we think he'd be happier here and he can have a bigger role and we know what we could build him up to, they're not going to be worried that he just sort of like ditched out on a practice. Like, they'll be like, hey, when it gets here, he'll get better. But it needs to be in the right situation, and I think there's a couple places where that could be, I think he could make a difference, obviously, on Kansas City, and I think he could make a difference in Buffalo. I think these are 2 teams that are throwing the ball a lot where it could work out for him. I also think Washington's another spot where it's like, hey, let's go get this guy another weapon where he could be somebody that we're looking to target 7-8 times. This next game here, I was so unexcited about it, I almost forgot. I ended up squeezing him in here at the top, so we'll do this one really quick. I'm going to take the Jaguars to get on the board here. Looks like Flacco's going to start for the Colts. It's got to stop at some point. The Jaguars should have won last week. I think this is the week they put it all together in a divisional game at home, and I don't really have any rhyme or reason. But I'm going to take the Jaguars over the Colts.
I'm with Jacksonville also.
Mike's with Jacksonville too, with the Jags. I thought I was going to be alone on an island here. Joe, who do you got?
Think of Joe Flacco and the magic up there. Why not? Why not? No, Jonathan Taylor's out this game too, so it's going to be a Trey Sermon game, right? Jonathan, high ankle sprain. We talk about it. This is funny. Like when there's an injury in the NFL that like it just like everybody gets that injury, right? A couple of years ago, it was an oblique in baseball. Now it's high ankle sprain. Everybody gets high ankle sprains. Some people bounce back from them. Some people don't. But Jonathan Taylor's out this week, so I'm excited because we've talked about Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon has been thrown down. When he went to the Niners, his reputation was thrown out. I want to see a big game from Trey Sermon. I want to see him bounce back. I think that would be. I like stories like that.
I do too. I would root for it. I don't have, like animosity towards either one of these teams. I'm just picking the Jags. I think it's time for them to get up off the mat a little bit here. In the next game, Washington, Cleveland. We're in a situation where it's like, I don't think the Browns are as bad as I thought they were, but I don't think the Browns are that good. I don't know what I think fully about the Commanders in this situation. I'm going with the Commanders at home. I won't be shocked if Cleveland's defense finds a way to get after the quarterback. I think that's kind of been a little part of the success with Daniels is that his tackles haven't been tested as much. Myles Garrett going to be that nice test in this game. But from what I've seen from Deshaun Watson, I'm going to pick Jaden Daniels to make 1 or 2 extra special plays. Commanders win, 3-4 points at home here.
I'm glad you pointed that out, Sony, because I do think that the Browns have everything you need to combat this hot rookie quarterback right now. You've seen what he's done on tape already for 4 games. You have the defensive coordinator with a ton of experience. You have the veterans in the secondary to kind of annoy the receivers and maybe give Daniel some last minute looks, like a lot of shifts right before the ball is about to be snapped, stuff like that. And then with all that happening and Daniel's having to figure that out, he has Myles Garrett trying to freaking chase him down. So this is definitely the defense that is really going to test him and give him some fits and have all the tools to do it. But sometimes, and I feel like, sorry, Browns, maybe they don't deserve this, but sometimes it just doesn't make sense when teams lose. And it doesn't make sense when teams suck because karma's getting them. And that's what I feel like is happening here at this point with Cleveland. You could just say it's the Browns being the Browns, but the Browns put themselves in the situation that they're in today.
Yeah. They could have had Baker Mayfield. I was watching that game, and I'm like, man, how much better would this Browns team be if they had Baker Mayfield? If you had Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy and Njoku's back.
They're clearly a playoff team with Joe Flacco, so there may be a Super Bowl contender with Baker Mayfield.
Just as I predicted, maybe a few years too early on that train there.
Send him back. We want to rerun it.
Yeah,
and the Browns are banged up. Let's not say that. Like, their offensive line is all on the injury reserve. It's a crazy situation there. And it doesn't help that Deshaun Watson's not seeing wide open wide receivers. But I don't think the Browns are as bad as their record shows. Like, they have some good talent there. It's just get it together and get it going. I don't know if you guys saw Nick Chubb opened his window this week, so he's out there practicing. So that's good news for the Browns if they could pull off a couple of victories before he gets back. I am worried about the hype train on the Washington Commanders because I think the Washington Commanders are playing like the New York Giants a couple years ago, where they're playing above their talent, and they're winning some of these games. And now we're just going to be like, oh, are they a good team? Or are they not? They have a lot of question marks on that defense as well. So if one team can go in there and just get it rolling, and then be able to put the pressure on Jaden Daniels, because I think Jaden Daniels with the lead, great quarterback, going to be good. But to see a rookie be down by 14 or something like that and then have to try to force your way back and make some mistakes, that's where you're going to get the rookie mixed up. I have Washington winning this game. I know I just kind of gave the Browns a little bit more credit, but I do have Washington winning this game, but I'm not 100% sold on it. I'll just say that.
Yeah, it's tough to tell with the teams that are you had a different perspective of them going into the season, and then you're trying to weigh the opponents that they've already played, and you're trying to have a realistic view of what's going on here. And I think that the Commanders are a lot of fun, especially the way they've been winning. That Monday Night Football dime that Daniels threw there, whatever it was, Sunday, Monday Night Football, whenever that was, that gets us as fans a little overreactionary in that spot. The Browns aren't a bad team, and the Browns should have crushed the next team in this game, the Raiders Broncos, in last week in Vegas. Joe, you were there for that. This game, I'm going to make it short and sweet for me. Broncos, 8 losses in a row, or whatever it is, 10 losses in a row, something crazy like that against this Raiders team that has had 1 8-win season or something like that in the last 4 or 5 years. Broncos, they're going to figure out a way to get this done. The defensive line is going to be able to rattle Minshew enough for the Broncos to end this ridiculous losing streak. I do worry a little bit in this situation, Patrick Graham versus Bo Nix, but let's find a way. Keep it simple, easy passes. Broncos win this game in like a 16-13, 16-10 sort of football game. Mike, you go quick, and then we'll let Joe rattle about the Raiders.
Yeah, I got the Broncos also ending the streak tomorrow, baby. So the Denver Broncos going into Vegas, going to orange out the crowd, and then they're going to put a show on the field for their fans. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And speaking of the Browns' offensive line, Joe, and being a little banged up and working with backups, they cost the Browns the game against the Raiders last week. You saw that holding on that 80-yard touchdown? That cost the Browns the game.
I think the game's in Denver. I fucked this one up. Denver should be on the right side.
It's in
Denver. Oh, it's in Vegas? I thought it was in Denver.
I could be tripping. I thought it was in Vegas.
Oh, it's in Denver.
It's in Denver. I fucked up the graphic there. That's my bad.
Yeah, it's in Denver.
Well, the crowd will be orange either way, no matter where they play.
Joe, why are you picking your Las Vegas Raiders to go to Denver? And
because they won last week, Tony.
Yeah, that's why. You got to ride the hot hand, Tony. I don't think people are giving the Denver Broncos like. I've been trying to talk about the Denver Broncos, especially to Raider fans this week, and I'm like, the Broncos defense is actually pretty damn good, and people are like, no, they're not. And I'm like, okay, then you're not watching. Hello? What happened?
I feel like Joe's getting ready to hype us
up. Well, I had
here.
something, but my whole screen just went blank. But there it goes. I was like talking, and then I'm like, why did my screen go black? But now I can see you. I can see Mike all pissed off because he hates any time the Raiders are being talked about. And look, the Raiders have a good mentality going into this week. DaVante Adams quit on the fucking team. He quit basically, right? He faked an injury. You can say what you want that it's a real injury, but basically he quit. And the locker room, sometimes when that happens, they come together and they have the next man up mentality. Jacoby Myers, not a horrible wide receiver. Last week, the Raiders were forced to use speed, which we saw something different out of the Raiders offense. Wasn't fucking good. Still wasn't good, but it was different. We saw a different offense where they were forced to use some of these guys that they normally don't. Tyreek McAllister out there playing running back some of the plays needs to learn not how to take the big hits because he got laid out by some of the Browns defensive players last week. But sometimes when you lose your star guy and you're not forcing the ball to one guy, it opens up your offense. We'll see. I doubt it because Gardner Minshew's still a horrible fucking quarterback. And he misses a lot. Oh my god! Like how the Raiders win some of these games with Gardner Minshew is ridiculous. Like I don't know if it's
only 1-2. Let's make sure it's not a lot yet.
Well, I don't know, but like there was something that I told Tony like I was very envy of the Falcons the other day because they had 50 passes and all but 2 of them or 3 of them were outside the tackle box. Where the Raiders are 90% outside the tackle box, like they're throwing screens, they're trying to throw something. Like my thing about football is I want to attack the middle of the field. That's me personally. I like to see an offense that attacks the middle of the field. Anyways, I'm going off topic. I think the Broncos are a very good team, very tough team. Their offense has some struggles. This will be a low-scoring game, like Tony said. I think it's going to be a tough one. But of course, I'm not backing away from my Raiders. This is the next man up mentality. This is hey. Everybody's counting us out. Fuck the rest of them. And this is when the Raiders show up. When you count the Raiders out, this is when they show up. When you give them props, they lose the game. So the Raiders, this is a game that everybody's counting the Raiders to lose. They come out and win it.
So you're still confident in the Raiders here, Joe? I mean, I feel like you're going to take the Raiders even if they put me out there at receiver, let alone Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker and some of the other receivers they have. But what even happened here with DaVante Adams? So I don't think we've even talked about it in length yet on the show. Like, how did the escalation go from like I'm committed and this coach is committed to me dying a freaking Raider and them lowering me into the ground in my damn pads to send me out of here right now, like in a night, in an hour?
Well, I think DaVante Adams has put on a great show this whole offseason, and it's been good, and I'll take it, whatever it is. But, I mean, when you're looking at your quarterback and you're looking at a guy who's missing you or is not on the same page as you, and now you're going into game 2 of it, and you're looking at your career, and you're like, I'm older, and you want to win, and you're tired of the offense. But you know what? You asked for this. Like my whole thing is like, did they fail to get the Raiders? Did the Raiders fail to get you a quarterback? Yes. But why didn't you fucking say something months ago? You went into the preseason. You knew the training camp was horrible. You knew the Raiders were having a horrible quarterback competition. Why didn't you say something at training camp? No, you continue to be like, I'll build it because you didn't want to be the bad guy in the situation. Now, AP came out and liked the post on Instagram about you getting traded, and you're like, oh, okay. Now AP will come off as the bad guy, and I'll do it. But at the end of the day, look, Raider Nation will love you when you're a part of the Raider Nation. But when you turn against us, fuck you. Have a nice day. See you later. So DaVante Adams posting, and now he's playing the game. He posted yesterday on the Edgar Allan Poe stuff where it's like, maybe you go to the Ravens, maybe you go somewhere else. It doesn't matter. Now he's playing the game. But it's at that point where and I've always said this, if you want to be part of the team, be part of the team. If not, get the hell out. Nobody wants somebody in the building that's not going to be, and that goes for any team, not just the Raiders, any team. If you don't want to be a part of of the team, then don't be there. But I think this is a bigger problem that we're going to see in sports, not just for the Raiders, but we're going to see it in sports from now on, especially with the new college NIL deals, with the transfer portal. If you're not happy with your team, you hold out, right? We've been seeing a lot more holdouts the last couple of years, or you ask for a trade. This is something that NFL and other sports are going to have to deal with from now on, where if you're not happy with the team you want out, well, at the end of the day, me and Tony have been talking about it. If the Raiders aren't getting the deal that they want, I think Tom Telesco's set on getting a second round pick. That's what he wants. The teams are saying no, we'll give you a third or fourth, but you got to pay some of DaVante's contract, is what they're saying. Me personally, I'm an asshole, and you already know that. If I have to pay DaVante's contract for him to go to your team, no, he can sit his ass at home, and I'll pay him at home. I'm paying him either way. I'll pay him to sit at home. I'll Calvin Johnson his ass, Tony.
What? You'd rather him sit there and pay him to do nothing than to get the 3rd and 4th round pick for him.
Okay, so would I rather pay him to go to Baltimore, pay him to go to Buffalo, pay him to go to Steelers, and maybe do good? No.
For two players, yes, that's what I would want to do. I would not want Keenan Allen just watching this season and us not have Ladd McConkey right now, or whoever the Chargers went with in the 2nd round, because they had an extra 4th round pick to deal with. So me personally, I would want the 3rd and 4th round pick. And that's the next layer to this, is I think that's a pretty good offer for DaVante Adams when you take into account that it's midseason, that he's dealing with a hamstring injury. Like, that's kind of going to hurt the Raiders in these negotiations, that he's faking a hamstring injury not to play for him right now, instead of just saying non-related, a mental health thing or whatever else they could say other than that to keep him off the field. Like, I feel like a 3rd and a 4th is a good offer. Telesco should take that shit.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's not faking a hamstring. It's real, guys.
Yeah.
So
there you go, Tony. This is a live. I don't know who made this. I think somebody made this website, but this is it. This is the actual countdown since it's been. But hey, it's a pretty impressive streak if you think about it, right?
Actually, a video dropping tomorrow on it, so yeah, it is pretty impressive.
Thank you, Joe.
Up and I eat cold pizza off the counter. That's what I do.
What is going on right now?
That's right.
My greatest hit.
It is.
Oh, now Tony's off the screen completely. What happened to our setup?
It's right here. I got it covered.
Okay.
I got it covered. There we go. Technical difficulties. That just means we've been here past our welcome. Let's do these last ones really quick. Seahawks at home, chance to go 4-1. I thought they played the Lions really tough on Monday night. I think this offense is fun. It's starting to get into shape here a little bit. I think Geno kind of started slow, but hit his rhythm last week. I think this is a chance to take it at home to another level. Big game for him over the G-men who are banged up. Like, the one thing about watching the Giants this year has been Malik Neighbors. He's not playing in the game. Like, the defense has been good. I think Thibodeau's played nice. I think Brian Burns has played good. Dexter Lawrence is just one of those guys that it's like, please just get him to a good team so that we can appreciate what he's doing. Like, part of the things that we've been able to appreciate about Cam Hayward's career is that he's always been in the mix in Pittsburgh. You always get to see him playing in big games, and it's like, damn, this guy is Hall of Fame level. Like, let's get Dexter Lawrence to a situation where we get to see him play in a lot of big, meaningful games and just watch how good of a football player he is. Mike, I'm taking the Seahawks. Who do you got?
I'm with Seattle also. Feel very similarly to you, Tony. I feel like the only bright spots for the Giants have been the D-line and Malik Neighbors. There's been nothing else to be excited about. But in the same breath, that gives this destination, who is probably going to have a very high pick for a future head coach to come here next offseason and quickly hit the reset button on this team, because they're going to have the roots. They're going to have tackle on the offense side of the ball. They're going to have a front seven that can be worked with. They're going to have a wide receiver one. I think this is a team to be a candidate to sign or trade for a quarterback and then bring in any of the hot coordinators or maybe a Bill Belichick to kind of like immediately try and reset the Giants behind that front seven, behind Malik Neighbors. But I'm taking Seattle for this week.
Daniel Bellinger's father wanted you to not leave him out of that equation.
Oh, my bad. I forget about that guy's existence, honestly.
Do you see these records right here? You see 39 wins for somebody right here. This is why you guys bring me on the show, for I can correctly pick this. After week one, when Tony thought he was riding high and he had a 4-game win lead on us after week one, I've just completely dominated. And that's why when you guys are talking about the Seattle Seahawks and how good they are, and Kenneth Walker out there running like a madman, like Walker's a badass running back, probably one of the best running. Like, his vision alone is unbelievable to watch Kenneth Walker. And if you just want part of the Seattle offense in fantasy, right? You want to go out there and get one of them. But that's why I'm taking the New York Giants to lose this game to the Seattle Seahawks.
I thought he was going the other way. I was like, holy shit, Joe's about to take the Giants on the road with no Malik Neighbors. This is fun. Last game of the week.
Twist it up on you, Tony.
This is so my bets for the week. I'm gonna get them all of them on record right here. I got the Panthers plus 3.5, Broncos minus 2.5, Steelers minus 2.5, Saints plus 5.5, and my last one here in a game that I don't know why I am doing this to myself, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take the Dolphins plus 1.5 to win this game. Do not feel great about it. I realize I messed this one up too. This is why I should not be making graphics late at night. I think the Dolphins are actually in New England for this game. The Patriots just lost David Andrews, their center. Like, you can't lose on a team that's already bad, struggling to run the football and doing all this stuff. I just don't think you can lose a guy that's that intricate to your team. You're already struggling to run the ball, throw the ball on offense. Yes, your defense is good, but I just look at this game and I go, where are all the best players on the field on this team? They're all on the Miami offense. Like Mike McDaniel, if you're that coach, which I believe that you are, this is now like 2 weeks with Snoop Huntley there. Figure out a way to get to 17 to 20 points and you can win this game. And that's why I'm going to take the Dolphins. I don't feel good about it. Mike, you're shaking your head a lot. Are you riding with Jacoby Brissett and Hunter Henry?
I think here's what I think is going to happen. You can call me Mike Stradamus again when this actually comes true. I think that this game is going to be a real freaking stink fest, Tony. And we're going to get into the third quarter, and it's going to be near 0-0, maybe 3-0. That bad. I think so. And I think they put in Drake May, and he gives them the spark. And the Patriots win this in the second half and start to pull away. There's no reason to believe, even with my GOAT OBJ coming back this week, that the Miami Dolphins offense is going to do anything, man. Even their best players, Tyreek Hill, is struggling right now.
Yeah,
Like everyone is off. It seems
Waddle.
like since Tua went down, I mean before too, but more so since Tua went down, they have packed it in. Like this roster, this team, it's like they've almost said to themselves, no, we can't take another one of these, man. We just can't. And it's hit its limit. They can't just believe until Tua gets back and try and recoup the season. So I think it's going to get even uglier for the Dolphins as we get in here, and they're going to continue to go 0 for every week almost. I'm taking the Patriots to beat the Dolphins. If you told me that I would be doing this a month ago, I would call you crazy.
Joe, who you got? Tell me you're taking the Patriots too. Let me be on this island alone.
You are on the island alone.
Yes, there's a victory for the home team.
There's no like Tua. It's weird because everybody talked shit when Tua was playing, and now when he's gone, you show how much he means to this Miami Dolphins team. But they just like, oh yeah, you know what's better if our quarterback's not playing good? Let's get another wide receiver in there. Let's bring Odell Beckham back. Like, what the fuck are we doing down there? Like, why aren't you finding a quarterback? Why aren't you calling somebody? Why aren't you calling Ryan Tannehill? At least find somebody that can play the quarterback position. You have two guys right now that are just complete dog shit out there, and your team, like McDaniels. What happened? I thought you were an offensive genius that you could just plug anybody in and you can go. Where's the great running game? Like, you have multiple guys that could run this ball. Where's the speed that you're supposed to be using? Like, if you're in the creativity of this offense, like, how did it fall from the top to just down that quick just because one guy?
So here's the. I don't think that it's necessarily no depth. I mean, obviously, depth at the quarterback position is extremely hard. Like, very few teams actually have that. And then it falls on the coach to be able to pivot. But if you look at how some of these other teams are built, they're built to play a certain way. The Dolphins are built solely in a way of speed. So they can't just be like, hey, our quarterback's out. Let's just play bully ball. Everything has to be designed and sleek and fast and whatever. So there is no pivot. And then you have to have a trigger man who is calling these shots, who's seeing everything with like 1.9 seconds, 2 seconds. And that's going to take a couple of minutes. That's why I was big on Skylar Thompson. I'm like, dude, you've been here 3-4 years now. Like, you should be able to understand and read, and have you been in enough meetings and played enough games. And then it was just bad up in Seattle. And Seattle's D line like fell apart, and they still were crushing. Like, they beat up Skylar Thompson, like punctured, internal organs. The Dolphins can't pivot. That's the problem. So they have to continue to play this same style without Tua. And I do think that it's going to figure itself out to where they're going to be able to get enough home run shots this week to get to 17, to get to 20, and win the football game. Like, it's gonna.
They need it bad. They need it bad, and that's excuse me. That's exactly my point, Tony. With the quarterback thing, like, there's a lot of backup quarterbacks moving around that are very good options right now for the Dolphins. That I would take them to beat the Patriots. They had Jameis Winston, they had Joe Flacco, they had some of these fill in the blank backup quarterbacks that moved around the league this offseason. I feel like with what they've seen out of Tua with his injury history, that should have been something that was very important. Remember, didn't they field a team with Teddy Bridgewater as the backup for a year? Like, that was the direction they should have kept going down with Tua's backups.
Well, I think it was Ryan Fitzpatrick that year that they flipped back and forth or whatever. The Bridgewater good backup year was with the Saints. I think he's gotten injured everywhere else that he played, eventually retired.
Andy Dalton.
Even if you look at the Dolphins draft this year, what do? They went and got Malik Washington. He's a shifty, smaller playmaker. They get Jalen Wright. He's a running back that relies on 4.28 speed or whatever it is. Like, he's not necessarily a bruiser. They don't have any way to pivot. Their offensive line is like really banged up. They have to rely on the Mike McDaniel scheme to be able to be getting these quick hitters. And Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, you got to just like really lock in and go play and win a game, because the whole point of Tua even coming back potentially in a few weeks is that he would have something to come back to. Because if I'm the head of this organization, I'm not saying, even if he wants to come back, why are we risking it for him to come back to a team that's 1-5, 1-6, or whatever it is? It's like, not putting him on the field for that.
Yeah.
Like,
and now you're
we're
also
gonna start
playing with
letting
sitting
Foreman-
him. And now you're also playing with like, okay, let's shut the season down then. And he comes out next year rusty or doesn't look quite the same. Like we've seen quarterbacks who have basically skipped entire seasons for injury or for other reasons. So it's just like, it's just going to be constant tug and pull with the Dolphins, which is why I think when it happened, like they should have been calling up the Rams. They should have been on the line every 2 seconds. Like, hey, you guys ready yet? You guys ready yet? Because I think the Rams wanted to trade Stafford last year and the year before, and they just catch fire, and they can't really justify doing it anymore. But now they can, and it's just there's no destination for them mid-season except for Miami, which unless they lose, if they lose, they're not trading for a quarterback.
I think
And
the
this brings me
Rams.
back. Go ahead.
What'd you say, Joe?
I was just going to say, this brings me back to my point. If you're an NFL team and you want me to help your team get somewhere, or if you're a fan and you want me to help kill another team, or just let me know, because the Dolphins were the team that I picked to win the AFC or to be the top team in the AFC at 12-5 this year. So you're welcome, everybody. You're welcome.
He's just out there. He's got Pete on his ass. He was killing Dolphins now. I'm with it. I'm with Mike McDaniel. I've thought that he's a certain level. I think we were putting him in that category with Sean McVay and whatever. I can't see Sean McVay wanting to give up on the season and pivot to whoever the backup, Stetson Bennett and Jimmy
G.
He's not pivoting to that at this point. Maybe week 7 or 8, it's really bad, and the Dolphins or somebody says, "Hey, we got a third round pick for Matthew Stafford. Thanks for the chip. See you later." I want to thank everybody who watched this, people who commented, hung out with us. I look forward every week to hanging out with my friends and talking about football and being right, being wrong, but ultimately just having fun. Anything that we want to say, to do? Good luck to your fantasy teams. Good luck to whatever. fifthdown.shop. Go over there. Check out players we got. I know we just sat here. We just buried the Dolphins, but the shirts are still cool. Like whether they're good or not. Like I got myself a little cheetah tank top. Love to throw that on.
Don't trade Tyreek Hill, Miami, please.
Don't, man. If Cheetah ends up back on the Chiefs, I will root for the Dolphins to lose every game for like the next 5 years. I will be so pissed.
I think it would be very hard. Didn't he just sign a brand new deal? So there's probably a lot of money that's tied up in that deal.
Joe, you are the captain, ship, boat, bandwagon leader of the salary cap is a myth. The salary cap doesn't exist. They could figure it out if they wanted to. Like
no, but there's one thing about the salary cap. Yes, the salary cap, if his number is cap hit, but I'm talking about he probably has a lot of guaranteed money that the Dolphins would have to be paying him just to ship him out. Not the cap hit. The cap hit, you don't worry about. It's the guaranteed money that the Dolphins probably promised them, right?
That's why I was going to mention with the OBJ thing is I think they're literally just putting him out there to show people he can still run before they trade him.
Hey, he can run. Mike has a good video of him wearing all these shirts except for 1 or 2 shirts, the Raiders shirts.
He does. He definitely does. It feels like there were some repeats in there. Doesn't matter. I love them all. Throw them up on the screen.
I think that was a cool one right there.
Rams, Aaron Donald. Yeah. Man, they could use that guy. It is. This what's happening right now is helping that man's legacy. Like it is. It's rough. It is rough.
It's also going to help us too, Tony, when he comes to the Chargers for last push. Last Super Bowl run.
Would I be so pumped if he's like, the 6-2 Chargers are adding Aaron Donald? I would be like, I'd be out in my street running around. People would be like, the guy across the street finally lost his mind. Let's get out of here. It's been a great Saturday morning. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy football. Wake up at 6 in the morning if you live on the West Coast and watch Aaron Rodgers
put your chains on.
Dominated. All right, we will see you next Saturday. Peace.